I think that when we look at it through the lens of humor, it makes it more relatable to people. Mental illness is something we often take so seriously, it's almost too serious. We don't want to go anywhere near it. When we use humor as an approach, it softens it and makes it more accessible to people. So we are able to talk about it and help to remove the stigma associated with it. Well, depression and other mental health issues are one of the world's leading cause of disability right now. Suicide is a devastating thing that happens more commonly than any of us would like to think about. Suicide attempts happen even tenfold more common than that. By not talking about it, we sweep it under the rug. But just like anything else we sweep under the rug, it just becomes a bigger problem. I think by tackling it head on, without looking at it through the lens of stigma, but rather looking at it for what it is, an illness just like a cold, just like a pneumonia, like cancer, diabetes, and so forth, we're able to talk about it and help to treat it. My guess, and I think it's a fairly educated guess, that most of the audience members are either dealing with mental health issues themselves or know somebody who is dealing with mental health issues. Pretty much everybody does. And by being able to talk about it in an open, safe venue and be able to relate it to the play, I think we can really start to build some bridges to start to look at this stigma and look at how we can make mental health treatment more accessible and more known to people. Well, I think at first it shows very nicely that mental health does not only affect the person suffering from the mental health disorder, it affects everybody. It affects the family members and especially children. It'd be very difficult for children when a parent is suffering from mental illness, especially not seeking proper treatment. In particular, in the play, the narrator's mother is suffering from a severe depression resulting in suicide attempts, and the father sweeps it under the rug. And that really affects who the narrator becomes as an adult. It affects his relationships. It affects pretty much every aspect of his life. And so the play is helpful in showing that it's not just the person suffering from the mental illness. It really is, it's an illness that affects everybody around the person as well. The show is a very nice portrayal of a child who grows into an adult whose mother is suffering from depression and suicide attempts, and it shows how it affects him, how it affects his relationships growing up, and how as a child, and even as an adult, he understands that mental illness. In particular, the show starts with a list that he's making of every brilliant thing that he can think of, and by the show's end, he has reached 1 million things. But the problem is, even 1 million brilliant things, that's not going to treat the depression. The proper treatment for depression is the psychotherapy, the medication, the treatment that we have in place that so many people really either don't know about or don't pursue for whatever reason. Certainly children whose parents suffer from mental health problems, especially severe depression, especially when it's requiring hospitalization, when it's leading to suicide attempts, they often could benefit from therapy themselves, from support groups. Nowadays we have the internet, which can be very helpful as well as detrimental depending on where you go. But all of these resources are available to children of parents who are suffering from mental illness, as well as family members, adult family members. I think they're scared for several reasons. One, it makes people very uncomfortable. I think the thought of suicide, just the way it has been portrayed in society throughout history, people think of it as a sinful, wrong thing to do. But people are also very scared and uncomfortable to talk about mental health. There's a great source of embarrassment I've found that people have talking about, and to be fair, very personal things. Talking about how it's affecting, how they sleep, how they are eating, how they are having sex, anything in their life, their friends, their family. These are very personal things, and people do not like to talk about them. I think this is a huge step for the Northville and surrounding community to have a play that openly addresses mental health issues, talks about suicide, talks about how it affects the individual's family, and also talks about it in a relatively positive, lighthearted way, which again is very relatable to an audience. I want the audience to know that we have many resources available, in particular at St. Mary Mercy Hospital and our surrounding hospitals through the St. Joe's Network. We have an abundance of mental health resources. We have chemical dependency treatment, inpatient and outpatient. We have mental health treatment, inpatient and outpatient. So there are resources right around the corner for anybody who is experiencing mental health issues or knows somebody who's experiencing mental health issues. I would also want the audience to come out knowing that yes, there is a stigma about mental health, but it's not necessarily a fair stigma, that mental health problems are similar to any other physical illness, whether it's a common cold or asthma or anything else. It's an illness just like anything else, and it doesn't really deserve it to be an issue of contempt or avoidance. In fact, it's that very contempt and avoidance that pushes people from seeking treatment. And that's actually the worst thing that people can do when they're experiencing mental health problems. One of the things I have found that people relate very well to the media. People respond very well to media analogies when you talk about what's on TV, when you compare what they're going through to what somebody that they know from the media is going through, either in real life or on a program in a movie. It can be a really good way of engaging people in showing them that they're not alone. The St. Joe's Health Network, in particular St. Mary Mercy Livonia, we have St. Joe's Oakland, St. Joe's Ann Arbor, St. Joe's Chelsea. We all have an abundance of mental health resources, inpatient as well as outpatient mental health services, chemical dependency services as well, inpatient and outpatient. So there's an abundance of resources all throughout the Metro Detroit area that are 100% dedicated to optimizing individuals' well-being and mental health. And the first thing that people can do to prevent suicide is talk about it. Just as we're talking about it now, and just as the narrator talks about it openly with the audience in the play, Every Brilliant Thing. So talking about it, making people know that they're not alone. When people are depressed, when they're suicidal, they think they're the only ones feeling that way. And that makes the depression even worse. It further alienates them, isolates them, causes them embarrassment, makes them avoid seeking mental health services. And again, that's the worst thing they can do. By talking about it, opening up about it, seeing that other people are going through similar things. Maybe not the same exact story, but similar enough. And also knowing that the treatment is available and that it works. We have excellent psychotherapies, we have excellent medications, excellent programs that can help target mental health, help treat depression and other mental health conditions, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. And that would be, in my opinion, the #1 way of preventing suicide.